What's up guys, Cloudy Journey here. I'm just doing some sorting in my messy comic book room here. We have a rental suite, so I don't have too much access to our little extra storage room, so every once in a while my comics, when I buy new ones, they stack them and I come down here and work on them. But yeah, I had a quick idea for a video here I wanted to go over. This is my giant size X-Men I was looking at, and came in as a 6.5, and I was just thinking, you know, if you're new to comics and you're not sure about it, maybe you've seen these graded comics, you're wondering about them. The nice thing with graded comics, guys, these plastic case comics, is for one, you get a generally universally accepted grade on there. Like, people will make their arguments about CGC or CBCS, but for the most part, people look at those grades and accept them as that's officially what that book is graded at. But the other nice thing with these, if you guys are going to buy like a bigger ticket old book, I'd recommend it, even if you don't like keeping your books in cases, which a lot of people don't. What it does is it ensures that there's no restoration on it, which can seriously affect the value of your book. So examples of restoration might be if this top was trimmed here, if it was all beat up, so someone took a very slight bit off the edge, or if there was a mark out of this red, so someone tried to match the color and fill it in. Little things like that that sometimes are hard to see if you're buying a book online. So if you spend, say, $1,000, $500, even $100 on a book, and it's been color touched, all of a sudden that book might be worth 50% of what you paid for it. And some people just can't see it when they sell it, and some people are dishonest. So buying graded books is a good way to mitigate that. So in terms of old books, 99% of the time I will, if I'm spending any significant money on anything sort of Bronze Age or earlier, I'm going to be buying a graded book. The other nice thing about it is, so it'll give you all the nice information here. This is CBCS. I kind of like them. They're a little stricter on the grading. And when I didn't submit this one, I purchased this one graded, but I've submitted books to CBCS, and I like that they're a little bit cheaper than CGC. But that said, this label here is getting a little bit wavy. So as I was sitting there, I was like, oh, this is getting wavy, and I had purchased this, so I thought, oh, is this something that could be faked? So as I was sitting there, I was like, well, what I'll do is, if you go on and search for grading notes, CBCS grading notes, there's this code right down here. And you can look up the code, and the code will tell you all the notes on why that book was graded 6.5. So if you guys don't know, a 9.8 is generally right off the rack perfect. As there's little errors and mistakes and issues with the book, they knock points down and lower the grade. So at 6.5, you can see there are a few things wrong with it. So the nice thing is, with the grades, I can verify that yes, this is the grade for this book. Because when I look it up, I'll show you in a second here, it'll say there's a tiny tear here. At the bottom on the spine, there's also a small tear. On the back corner, there's a crease there. So the other valuable thing about getting those notes, guys, is say you're looking at buying a book online. You can make sure they have it, because sometimes when they take the picture of the book, it won't be clear up here. So you want to make sure you ask them, if you're going to buy a big book, ask for that code for the grading notes, and look. Make sure that the issues on that book match what the issues are, what it's saying on the grading notes, or you might be getting a bogus book, which I have had. I've bought a very nice copy book, and you get there and it's a different book. And when you look at the little things wrong with it, you can see. So there are dishonest people out there. That helps them keep honest. Thing I've never done, but people do. I've been starting to put a pile together that I'm considering doing, but where you can get books pressed and cleaned. So they have special machines that flatten out the books and make them a lot crisper and nicer, and any little creases will get pressed out and nice and flat and crisp. And there's people who do this professionally. You can submit your books to them and they'll do it, and it can really increase the value of your books quite a bit. So part of what you can do is, if you look at these notes, is see what the reason for the lower grade is. Like, this book is fairly a wavy book. So there's a lot of little creases on here that don't actually break the color. So it doesn't, if the colors are all broken, and say he had a big crease here and you could see white through there, If you press it out, you'll still see that mark, so the pressing doesn't really help. But if it's all wavy and there's not a lot of color breaking creases on it, then those can all press out and you can really increase the value of your book. So if you're ever considering purchasing a book and sending it to a pressing, cleaning type guy, those notes can be really helpful to see if it's a good candidate for that. And if that's something, if you're smart, you can invest well. If you buy something that's lower grade but has a lot of non-color breaking creases, you could potentially send that in and increase the value of your book and have a much nicer book on your hands for less of a price. It just takes a little bit more work and ingenuity on your part. So, yeah. Okay, guys, so here's the website on CBCS Comics where you can see, I looked up the notes, so right up here I just typed in the grading number. It has to be, it's like case sensitive and stuff, so everything has to be bang on. And then I can go ahead and look and see, I guess sometimes there might be an image here, but mine didn't have an image, but you can see what the grade is, what the comic is. Down at the bottom though here, you can see all the notes about that issue, so you can see why it has that grade. So tiny piece missing from the middle of the spine, 1.5 inch crease bottom left corner of the back cover, light foxing front and back cover, lots of small bends on front cover, tear and small stain off middle spine front cover, 3 inch crease and small chip off the top left edge back cover. So this is really useful for a few reasons. One, if you're looking at a book, you can see it might present really well but have a major issue of something you really don't like. Some people really don't like rusted staples, for example. Or it might have a tear somewhere in the middle of the book. The book might present perfectly, but inside has a big tear somewhere that brings the grade down. So it presents well, but ultimately that book isn't in great shape. It also tells you, like I was saying before, if it's something that can be fixed or changed, like if it had a lot of this, like here it says a small 1/2 inch crease, then you can see, oh, well, maybe if all the issues are creases, then maybe that's something that can be fixed through pressing or whatever, or a small stain could maybe be clean depending on what it is and the extent of the damage there. It would also tell you if the book you're looking at is that book. So, for example, someone could potentially doctor an image to show a higher grade on a book than it is, or even different notes on the book than what the actual book is. So if you were to look up the note, you could see, do these notes line up with how that book looks on things that are obvious on the book, to make sure everything's above board and you're getting what you expect. So yeah, there is some use to that. It's a feature I really like, and one good reason to get a book graded and to buy a book that's graded. So those are just my quick thoughts. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll talk to you later.